Hello there and welcome to Wednesday's evening show. Nice to have your company. Well, today we've a mixed bag. We'll be talking about stars and all that's going on in the heavens with David Moore from Astronomy Ireland a little later on. And Owen Dawson will be here with a review of some of the latest books. Always interesting. That's all coming up in the next few minutes. Still to come, David Moore will be here to discuss the heavens, the space station, the stars, the planets and so on from Astronomy Ireland. Always interesting to hear from David. First, welcome back. Well, I was going to say after talking to Owen Dawson it's back down to Earth, but in actual fact it's quite the opposite. We're going up in the sky. There's Astronomy in Space. It is of course the publication of Astronomy Ireland. The man behind all of that is David Moore. He's here in studio. David, you're very welcome as always.
Thank you very much.
What are we talking about today in terms of the heavens? What's the big news?
Well, there's lots of things to see in the sky, some great planets to see. There's also a Christmas lecture coming up. People are thinking about telescopes for Christmas as well. And we've just had the space shuttle mission land after a very successful 11 days in space.
Yes, I was talking to you about that before, and we were talking about the fact that it could be seen from the sky with the naked eye, and very, very clearly as well. But it moves at quite a pace, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it's travelling at 5 miles per second, but because it's over 200 miles above the ground, it doesn't look that fast when you're watching it in the sky. It moves across the sky about the speed that a high-flying jet aircraft would cross over. But not only that, it's far brighter than anything else in the sky when it flies over.
Why is that?
It's absolutely unmistakable. It's its size now. It's the International Space Station.
No, I know that, but you know, why is it bright? I mean, we know why planets resonate and give off a light. Which is somewhat reflective and so on. Is it the same thing, or is the lights are on in the aircraft?
No, it's exactly the same reason. We can only see it for 2 weeks every 2 months in the evening sky, and the reason is that that's just when it's flying over shortly after sunset. And although it's dark down here on the ground, if you could imagine zooming 200 miles up, you'd be able to see over the horizon and catch the sunlight, and that's what they're doing. And sometimes when people watch the space station, it just appears to fade and vanish, even though there are no clouds in the sky, and that's it actually going into the Earth's shadow. If you were on the space station, you'd actually see the sun setting behind the Earth.
Right.
So it's all just lit up by the sun. Of course, you see the close-up picture. I think we might have one of those to show people. You'll see the huge solar panels, which are bigger than the wingspan of a jumbo jet. And all these modules that have been launched and bolted together over the last 10 years or so have made it the biggest man-made object ever put into space, over 300 tons, worth about $100 billion.
Wow, that's a lot of bread, isn't it?
And 6 astronauts on board. And of course, we had the space shuttle dock to it last week, which gave us 12 astronauts on board and an extra 100 tons of space hardware. And that was the biggest object that's ever been in space. And there are only 5 more missions of the shuttle, and then it's scrapped forever. It's inherently unreliable. It's already killed 14 astronauts. So next year will be the last 5 missions, and that's it for the shuttle. The Americans won't have a manned spaceflight capability.
What next?
Well, the Americans are developing a new rocket called Ares, which is sort of based on the rockets that are strapped to the side of the shuttle when they launch it on a bigger scale. And the shuttle can't actually get more than a few hundred miles above the Earth. Its rockets aren't powerful enough to go any further. But the new one will be able to go all the way to the Moon and even ultimately onto Mars. And that's what NASA has set its objectives of, about 2020, maybe the Moon, 2030, probably Mars.
Yeah, we discussed that because it's a long trek. It's not like going to the Moon, which you can do in 10 days. It's mega stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a serious mission. The Moon's only 250,000 miles away. Mars, although it can come within 50 million miles, you actually have to go on a very circuitous route, so you end up travelling several 100 million miles. So you go maybe 1,000 times further than they went to the Moon.
Why circuitous? Why would you have to go a different way?
Well, because if you had infinite money and infinite power, you could build a rocket as big as you needed. You could zip to Mars very quickly, but that would be extremely expensive. It's much easier to actually use gravity. The Earth's going around the Sun, Mars is going around the Sun a little bit slower. And if you get your spacecraft to be launched from the Earth using the Earth's speed that it already has, go a little bit faster and catch up with Mars, you can
the gravitational pull pulls you there.
Yeah, with a relatively small rocket compared to what you need if you just zip there and back. I suppose it's a bit like different in a sports car and walking down to the local shops.
I suppose the problem is getting back then, is it?
There's huge problems, of course. I mean, you're going to be in space for maybe a year, getting there, at least 6 months. Similarly, coming back, and the question is, unlike on the Moon where you just visit for a few days, you're probably going to spend, if not months, maybe 2 years there, because the Earth and Mars line up every 2 years. So you might actually spend 2 years there, which means you've got to bring all your food and equipment with you for 2 years as well.
Tall order.
And Mars can be seen now. It's one of the things we can see in the sky over the next few weeks. It's rising now around 10 o'clock. So by late evening you can see Mars glowing very orange-red, just like the soil, in the eastern sky. And in fact on the 5th, 6th and 7th of the month, I think we have a diagram showing this, the moon will be near it. So if people aren't sure which star is Mars, if you look at the moon on the 5th, 6th and 7th of December, you'll see to the left of it is a fairly bright star. That's actually the planet Mars. And if you've got a telescope, you can see surface detail just about if it's a good quality telescope, because it is fairly far away and relatively small.
And that's the main event this December, is it?
It's one of the main events, certainly, yes. I mean, I think because most people want to see Mars, everyone's heard about it, but you can actually see it quite plainly with the naked eye, as long as you know where to look. And it will actually be closest to the Earth over the next few months, and then it's a 2-year wait before it comes close again. So it's fairly bright now. It's going to get even brighter in January and February when it's very closest, and it will fade off for a few months. So if you want to get a sneak preview, as it were, this Christmas, December 5th, 6th and 7th are the 3 nights to remember.
Anything else we should watch out for?
Well, of course, in the evening sky we have Jupiter. It's dominating the evening sky. As soon as it gets dark, you look in the south, there's a brilliant white star there. That's the planet Jupiter. And if you've got a telescope, you'll see its cloud belts and moons. Its moons are very easy to see. You can see those in binoculars. And a good quality telescope, though, will show the actual disk of Jupiter, because although it's further away than Mars, it's a much bigger planet. Jupiter is about 90,000 miles across. Mars is only 4,000 miles across. So even though it's further away, it actually looks more impressive in a telescope. And you can see the stripes on it. Which
can you? The whole
oh, yeah, even
shooting match.
Yeah, even we could talk about telescopes in a moment. But for a telescope for a few €100 these days will show you the cloud belts on Jupiter quite well. If you spend a bit more than that, you can actually see intricate detail within the cloud belts. And the ultimate amateurs who have fancy equipment can take pictures showing very tiny little cloud features which change from day to day all over the planet.
Is Jupiter the one with all the moons? It has its own moons,
It has
doesn't it?
63 moons, would you believe? But 4 of them are quite big, about the size of our moon, a few thousand miles across. The rest are tiny, a few miles, a few tens of miles across. And so they're not actually visible in amateur telescopes. And of course, most of the last ones have been found with giant telescopes or the spacecraft that have gone there and found them when they're going around the planet, which is a bit of a cheat, but technically it does have 63 moons orbiting it. So that's Jupiter, a fantastic sight in the evening sky. And the other planet then that we can see means getting up early, but it's not too early at this time of year because, of course, it doesn't get light until quite late. And between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, a lot of people are up and about then. If you look over in the eastern sky, you'll see the planet Saturn, and in fact, it'll be
with the rings.
Exactly. But the naked eye, of course, again, it just looks like a bright star, and it too will be lining up with the moon. I think we have a little diagram that'll show that. So that's for people getting up early. If you want to have a look at Saturn. So they're the 3 main planets on view: Mars and Jupiter in the evening sky and Saturn in the morning sky. That's planets, but the other big thing that's happening this month, I think the next time we're on is December 14th, and on the day before that, the 13th of December, an easy day to remember, it's a Sunday night, we have the best shooting star shower of the year, called the Geminids. And shooting stars are, the name is a misnomer. They're nothing to do with stars at all. They look like stars shooting across the sky.
Are they meteorites or asteroids?
The official word is meteors, yeah.
Okay, meteors, okay.
And a meteorite is actually any rock that survives the burning up process and lands on the ground. This particular shower doesn't tend to produce meteorites. We think they come from asteroids, rocky bodies.
And they can be seen...
The meteors, come from comets. They're bits of dust that have fallen off comets, and we plough through this dust field as we're going around the sun every December the 13th. It's the best shooting star shower of the year. You'll see 1 or 2 a minute. The moon's out of the way, so people who live in rural locations or away from city lights will get an even better view. Right. And you can see it all night long, anywhere in the sky. So if people want more details, go to our website, astronomy.ie. There's a full guide to viewing the Geminids. You can even contribute by counting them.
Okay, brilliant. Dave, thanks a million for coming in. As always, plenty, so much information.
There's one other thing, Dave. There's a Christmas lecture, of course, on December the 14th, the biggest telescopes in the world. We have the director of the European Southern Observatory, a man
where's that going to be on?
Billions of dollars on telescopes. It's on in Trinity College Dublin, but if you can't get to Trinity College in Dublin, you can get a DVD of the lecture. Again, check the website.
Brilliant, and it's all on the website. The website is astronomy.ie. Astronomy.ie. David Moore dropping in to tell us about it. Watch out for that as well. That's their magazine, Astronomy and Space. That's our lot for today. Books and space. Can't do better than that. Rachel and Olive will be here for the next couple of days. I'll be back next Monday. See you then. Bye.